Hi everybody. After doing another video that showed some of my DVD collection, and with this cabinet here being kind of the backdrop for some of the videos I've shot down here in my living room, I thought maybe it'd be fun to open up the cabinet and maybe flip through, do a little show and tell of some of the DVDs and Blu-rays that are in this cabinet. So, by the way, I can tell you that this cabinet is, I think we bought it from Best Buy. Looked really nice in the showroom, and so we thought it would be a good, would go nicely with our living room furniture. When it arrived in its box, of course, it needed some assembly, and they recommended that you do it with a partner. I ended up doing it by myself, and it took about 3 hours to put this thing together. I really like the style of it. It's got a nice wood, and I like this kind of shaped glass that sort of obscures what's behind it, but still lets you see through it at the same time. So, one consistent comment, maybe even a criticism of this, was that the hinges that hold these doors on are really awkward to put in, and then it's really awkward also to put the doors on once the hinges are attached to them. So, if you happen to see this, I don't know if they make it anymore, but that's one tricky thing about assembling it. So why don't we go ahead and open this door? This is kind of a my side and her side sort of thing. This is my side, but a lot of her stuff still kind of trickles over to this side. So we basically have top shelf, bottom shelf, mostly DVDs on the bottom and Blu-rays on the top. Not necessarily, but let's start off with this title, No Country for Old Men. I think this was probably the first movie that I ever saw with Javier Bardem. Just amazing, sinister yet likable character, I don't know, I don't think I've seen too many bad guys like him in movies before, so really amazing. But he's become one of our favorite actors, and we seek out a lot of different movies that he's in. So, I mean, the whole cast of this movie was amazing, but he really stood out, kind of stole the show. We have the X-Men First Class, the new title from the X-Men series. Wouldn't consider myself a big comic book fan, or really, even a fan of this series of movies. I mean, they're good, but, I'm not a religious fan of them, so I can't really comment on how this one compares to the others in the series. But for me, this was really entertaining, and it's been playing on cable really continuously lately. And so it's a good thing that we find it very entertaining to watch. Some great characters. Yeah, good one. The Adjustment Bureau. There's just so much to like about that movie. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty funny, the whole idea of fate and somebody determined to do something with their life, even though the forces above are trying to, have other plans. So the interplay between those two makes this really entertaining. Source Code. It's a great, kind of alternate reality kind of movie. Again, everybody in this is people that we particularly enjoy. Eastern Promises. Once again, great cast, really interesting story. The whole Russian mafia in London kind of angle is really interesting to watch. Good movie. A little bit dark. The Prestige. Somewhere in here we also have The Illusionist, two similar movies. Like them both, they kind of aren't that similar to each other, even though the premise is sort of, on the surface, looks like a similar thing. The stories are quite different. This one, we don't watch The Prestige as often as we do The Illusionist, just because I guess it's a little bit easier to understand the Illusionist. It's a straight, one magician instead of two, I guess. Simplifies the plot, but anyway, the Prestige is also really good. Green Mile. I mean, epic, fantastic movie. Can't really say too much more about it. I mean, you just got to see it for yourself. It's wonderful. This movie is an old, I guess you would call it sort of a thriller, but I really was fascinated with this just because of the amount of time they spend on what was then sort of, high-tech, futuristic use of computers, and the way that they manipulate people with commercials. Not a very uncommon theme now, but back then this was quite a avant-garde kind of idea. So, really cool, enjoyable. Painted Veil. The setting of this is in China, also in England briefly, mostly at the beginning of the movie. But this is a nice period piece. Edward Norton and Naomi Watts just do a fantastic job in this, and there's a lot of interesting scenery in this, which is why we tend to watch it repeatedly. Suspect Zero, just fantastic. I'd say, I'm sure that the Dexter series was very much inspired by this. The idea of a serial killer who hunts serial killers. Pretty cool, except that, this one, Ben Kingsley is in. He's, again, another one of my favorite actors, and it's really amazing. So, but actually, you could say the same about Aaron Eckhart or Carrie-Anne Moss. But I love this movie because it takes place mostly around New Mexico, and I've lived there for a number of years, so it almost, it's nostalgic in a way. Dirty Pretty Things. This is another rather dark movie set in London. Has to do with a lot of different immigrants from different parts of Europe, and their struggles to live in London, not necessarily legally, and but again, fantastic cast, really good story. I definitely recommend checking that out, although, like I said, it's not exactly a rosy sort of plot. So, Along Came Polly. This is almost a reverse comedy, so to speak, in the sense that, or reverse romantic comedy, I should say, in the sense that, Ben Stiller is the guy who's trying to, settle down, get married, and that doesn't quite work out, and it's Jennifer Aniston who's sort of aloof, and, but this is a fantastic story. It also has a lot of, rather risque humor, you might say, crude jokes and that sort of thing. But we don't have a problem with that in our house. Yeah, there's a great, there's a lot to like about that movie. Gladiator. This has been a favorite of mine since it came out, really. I mean, I guess Russell Crowe's become a bit controversial, at least in the media, but I've always considered him a really amazing actor and very physical actor, which I like. It's inspirational. My lady wasn't too big a fan of Russell Crowe until recently. This was showing a lot on cable, and she finally sat there and watched it and realized what a great, epic film that was. So it's grown on her. Legion. Not very well received by the critics, but, we thought it was great. I mean, anything that's, kind of uses religious angles to make a horror film more interesting, I'm usually a fan of that. I always find it fascinating, so, yeah, good one. Fantasia, Walt Disney. I don't know. What can I say about this? I mean, the music's amazing. The animation, the different themes and whatnot, sort of explains everything that's great about Disney. Certainly in the classic Disney, where you have very strong characters, both good and evil. Really amazing animation. I mean, really smooth, really, I think when I was, a kid and especially teenager, there was a lot of animation that was kind of hastily done. You could tell it wasn't the quality of this. And I really wondered, how could kids watch that, knowing that they could do so much better, 30, 40 years before that. From my Formula One collection, the 2008 review, this would be the year that Lewis Hamilton won the championship for McLaren. In his second year in Formula One, he almost won it the year before. As I said in my other video, they finally realized that they need to release these season reviews on 2-disc set, so that the quality would be maintained with the amount of footage they were showing. I think they still had a few compression issues. A few of the fast motion parts tended to show some weird artifacts, but overall this looked really good. Oops. Bubba Hotep. I don't know, this is one of those really bizarre movies that I'm sure people love or hate, but I think Bruce Campbell does an amazing job in this, and Ossie Davis is also really, really funny. And this even has commentary, where Bruce Campbell does the entire commentary pretending he's the king, and it's funny because he acted in the movie, and there's a lot of really crude humor, and when he's pretending to be the king, he has a much different sense of morality. So there's a lot of humor making fun of the movie and things that wouldn't have passed the Hays office, so to speak. But that's a great movie. Again, R-rated, so, don't show your kids, but that's a great movie. Ninth Gate. Again, I've shown this one before in a, movie ASMR video. I really like this. Again, a lot of critics and a lot of people I know even don't like this movie. Don't like the ending, don't like just the overall premise, whatever. I mean, I enjoy it very much because it's such a quiet, kind of understated movie. It's got a slower pace. It's got a cool combination of like the detective and the horror film mixed together. It's definitely a book fetish movie, which I also really enjoy. So, and you know, the supernatural elements of it are fun to explore. So, definitely my kind of movie. The original Clash of the Titans. Yeah, this movie brings me right back to my childhood. It's once you show it on Blu-ray, obviously the flaws in the production level show up. I mean, you know, the state-of-the-art animation back then, you know, it's pretty apparent now. You can see all the miniatures they used and things like that. But I mean, it's still a fascinating movie once you watch it for what it is, you know. So really, really dark in some places, but I guess that's sort of what I enjoy about it. The Shining. Again, you know, I would say Stanley Kubrick is definitely one of my favorite directors. So most of the stuff he's done, I've got in my collection somewhere. So, but you know, I can't say too much more about this. It's a great movie. The Lost Room series. This is on a 2-disc set, but most of it fits on the first disc. This was a suggestion by my stepdad, I think, and I got really sucked into it, and now I watch it a lot. I mean, some actors that I like are in it, of course, but what I really like, other than just the concept, is that it was all shot on location in New Mexico. I mean, some of it is supposed to be New Mexico, but some of it's supposed to be Pittsburgh or some places like that, and yet pretty much they got by, you know, cueing you to being Pittsburgh or whatever, just with some second unit work. But the rest of it was filmed either in Albuquerque or Santa Fe or small town south of Albuquerque. But it's really addictive. You should just check it out. It's great. Devil Wears Prada. That's all. The Illusionist. Mentioned it before. Paul Giamatti is one of my favorite actors. I mean, obviously Edward Norton and Jessica Biel are great. But I'm fascinated with the different ways that Paul Giamatti plays characters and the way he used his voice in this to be kind of an Austrian police inspector, chief inspector, I think he was so different and so interesting. I just was fascinated by that. But this is a great movie. We've watched it over and over and over. I think if I move the other ones, they're going to tip over. So I'll just quickly tell you that I've got a Fitness Made Simple title. It's got a lot of really good advice, actually. I mean, I've got a personal trainer certification, or at least I did. I didn't really maintain it, but went to college for it and everything. And I can definitely tell you the Fitness Made Simple DVDs are good advice, both for nutrition and for training. So if you've seen the commercials or you're curious about maybe checking it out, I would definitely recommend it. I've also got House on Haunted Hill over there. Love in the Time of Cholera, which is another Javier Bardem movie. I almost didn't make it through that movie because he was such a sappy character, and I mean, despite the really beautiful. I mean, it's a period film, and it's shot in such a nice way, and the costumes are amazing and everything. But I I almost couldn't take his character because he was so sappy, and then he finally found sort of his other self, and that carried me through. And now, we watch that movie all the time. It's really funny. Um, we have Ultraviolet and Aeon Flux, um, very similar to each other in a way. You got the really, ass-kicking woman character in both of them, both of whom happen to be favorite actors of ours. We've got a Carlos Mencia stand-up. He's so not politically correct, of course, but he's hilarious, and he kind of tells it like it is some of the time. Bedazzled, again, something that my lady and I like to watch quite a lot, and, really well done. I'm going to pull this one out because this is amazing. Oops. Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day. Again, I guess romantic comedies are something I'm more willing to check out, but mostly when they're period films, that's usually when I find them entertaining. But this was incredibly well done. So definitely file that in the romantic comedies that even a guy would like. Got Dazed and Confused over here. Last Holiday, really cool. There's just, I don't know. It's just such a good-hearted movie. It's hard not to like it, and there's not really much that's sappy about it, so I really enjoyed it. 3,000 Miles to Graceland. I mean, again, kind of another funny movie with lots of indulging the whole Elvis nostalgia, and it actually goes to Vegas, so always fun. And then we have Freejack over here, which, believe it or not, is my lady's movie, not mine. Again, she's happened to see it on cable a few times, and she thought Mick Jagger did such a funny and good job, and obviously everybody else did their usual performances, but I mean, she even enjoyed all of the racing that happens at the beginning, with Emilio Estevez and supposedly racing in Formula One, although I wasn't too sure about that. But there is some really cool racing footage at the beginning. I believe they're at Bridgehampton Circuit. So, open wheel racing is pretty cool in this movie. And over here, we have my yoga DVD that I like to do once in a while. When I first got it, I probably did it almost every night. It happened to be at the same time when I was doing a kind of a stressful job, so. But I actually, this is the sort of yoga DVD that works for pretty much anyone. I mean, I gave my mom this DVD, and she even said that when you watch the intro, you think, oh boy, this is for people who are masters or something, but it's fine for beginners too. It's kind of you do as much of it as you want, so really great. Something to talk about. Again, romantic comedies aren't usually my thing, but Kira Sedgwick is just so unbelievably funny in this, and I can just think of too many scenes that she stole the show in, so that's all. Check it out sometime if you get the chance. It's a good movie. Got Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Like it says, Supersize Me on steroids. It goes mostly into the whole steroid controversy. I mean, I have to agree with the filmmaker's point of view, basically, that, the whole controversy on using steroids is a bit overblown, but, me personally, I've never tried them, never wanted to do them, but I don't really look down on the people who do. The Game with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. Another fairly quiet movie, and I like that. You know, I like the pace. I mean, even though there's a lot of action, it's got a really understated kind of feel to it. I don't know how to explain that, but really like that movie, and I love the setting. San Francisco, just beautiful. The World's Fastest Indian. Yeah, this is kind of hitting right at home for me, being at the Bonneville Salt Flats, or at least it finishes there. But yeah, the whole journey of Burt Munro trying to get from New Zealand, you know, up to America and California, he lands, and then he makes his way over to Bonneville for Speed Week so that he can set a land speed record in his old Indian motorcycle, which even at that time was already, I don't know, 30 years behind the times. But it's a great story, and Anthony Hopkins just does such an amazing job in it. It's just, again, it's a really good-hearted movie. There's, you know, it just feels good to watch it. Got Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Love that. The 13th Floor. A lot of people probably made fun of that one because it was supposedly so similar to The Matrix, but I found it very different. I mean, this one's more of a period film anyway, so that makes it pretty distinct from The Matrix, but I really enjoyed it. Got Disney's Tron down here. Pumping Iron, which is the first Arnold movie. It's really a documentary of his last defense of his Mr. Olympia title. But I find it really interesting. I mean, the culture back then in the bodybuilding world was fascinating. And then we have two more titles that I've shown you before, which is Time Rider and Time After Time. Both are obviously time travel movies, but I don't know. They're fascinating in a lot of different ways, but they also have smatterings of ASMR all the way through. So, good movies. Well, I hope you enjoyed a little look inside my cabinet. Maybe I'll do another one of these where I open the other side. So, anyway, happy movie time and enjoy your evening.